The thing is that what is clear is it was made through emergency law by the government, so doesn't have actually an impact on what will happen. The funds will still be here. The plan will still work. However, it's a very strong symbolic sign that the parliament is extremely unhappy on how it was made and also on the conditions that were set. Basically, one of the biggest problems is that there was an emergency plan and nobody was against that. But the fact that this plan is actually made against the people and ask the people to bear all the risks, but then UBS to take all the profit is causing quite a turmoil within the population, and that's a bit the reflection of it.
Is that necessarily how it will go, though, Samuel? The government, it seems, has been trying very hard to make sure that this doesn't fall on the Swiss taxpayer and that ultimately this bailout is structured to make a success for UBS of the combined entity, to make it profitable from day one, effectively. I mean, some, including JP Morgan, have said that this was the steal of the century, in a sense, and will allow the new operation to grow without having to draw upon the resources of the Swiss cantons.
Yeah, I agree with what was said. It's actually a question of risk. The Swiss people is taking a risk, and of course, with a risk, you cannot exactly know what will happen. But if it goes bad, then the population will pay a lot. If it goes well, then it's the opposite. That's exactly what you said. Then UBS will make the deal of the century. It will be billions and billions of Swiss francs or dollars or pounds that will go and flow into UBS. And that's what we actually think is unfair. It's not really fair that there is a de facto state guarantee for this bank. This is not paid in any way. And what happens then is when there is a problem, so if the risk realize and we lose a lot of money or the bank has huge problems, then the Swiss population will have to pay hundreds of billions, up to hundreds of billions. But if all goes well, then the population won't see any of it. And people don't understand that when everything goes well, there are huge bonuses for the managers, there's dividends, there's money. But when everything doesn't go so well and when there are risks or problems, then it's the population who need to take the risks or pay. And that's the problem with this plan.
Samuel, let me push back a moment here. As far as I can see it, this plan protects depositors, so Swiss savers will be okay. The only people that in the near term have been damaged have been the bondholders that owned a very specific tier of debt, the equity holders who I suspect you probably have little sympathy with, so they've taken some of the pain here. But largely the Swiss taxpayer hasn't had to fork out too much at this stage and will be made good. Surely a worse outcome would have been some form of nationalisation, which would have put all of the risks on the Swiss taxpayer.
Now that's the problem. I agree with part of what you say. First, it's normal that the equity bearers, the shareholders, lose if they take a risk, and it's a problem. So that you're right. It's not a problem. And actually, they didn't lose everything, because their value was not set to zero. But what's very important in what you say is that I agree with you. I think that this plan is going to work, and I was 100% in agreement with the fact that a plan was better than no plan. That's clear.